and welcome to a new session of the Lebanese Physicians Podcast. Today we are flipping the table on our hosts, Dr. Khalil and MohammadAli, with you, Antoine Saab. And today we are doing a coup d'etat on our hosts because we should put the light this time on these two incredible physicians that have made this incredible podcast, has shed the light on many and many talents in our Lebanon and Arab world. So today the spot will be on you, Dr. Khalil and Dr.
Maybe you can say why we came up with the idea of Flip the Table. It's 1 year. 1 year ago, we were the guests in this podcast, and we were very interested to do it again, this time, the experience, but by flipping the table and shedding the light on the big effort, big success of.
And when we saw you last time at ILMA Congress, I think the idea was finally took shape. And today we have the honor of being the host and asking you the questions we always want. So let me begin by asking you a first question. First of all, you have introduced many physicians that had a very prominent impact on Lebanon and the Arab world with their ideas. But it's time that you introduce your public.
Especially that you are really eminent success stories. Start with.
So who wants to start?
Khalil, we started the podcast.
Yeah, so basically, I just want to also say that we're currently live from Lebanese Hospital Geitaoui in Cynthia's office right now. So I'm currently a pulmonologist, interventional pulmonologist at George Washington University, DC, and I had worked in Lebanon for a couple of years at Rizal Hospital, and then moved back to the US. And the way I started the podcast was when I was here, I had a blog, just blogging about the funny stuff that happens to you here. So when I got back to the US, I was like, I don't get a lot of funny stuff happening. So it's not funny. So what should I do? So I was like, maybe I should start a podcast. And I think MohammadAli can go from there as to how he was connecting.
Yes, how did you meet and decide to co-host?
So, funny story, this is only the third time I meet Khalil in person. People think like we're friends and we go way back. We actually met through the podcast. So this was around the time when there was a very big podcast called the Lebanese Politics Podcast by the team from Lorion Lejour. And we were both like avid listeners. And I was making a list with my friend Nadim, who I think you both know. We wanted to make our own Lebanese Physician Podcast, and we had an Excel sheet of possible guests. But Khalil beat us to the game, and he had like maybe 3 episodes released. So I was the 4th guest, and I told him we were actually thinking of doing this idea. Instead of competing, let's combine our efforts. And it was a good episode when I was a guest. And then since then, I've come back as a co-host. And after doing the podcast for maybe an entire year, we met in person in Beirut once. And then we did the live episode with you guys a year after. And now this is our 3rd live episode.
So two Lebanese instead of
putting
their effort together.
Yeah.
That's a good start.
Right.
And you're not in Lebanon?
No. When we started the podcast, I had just moved to Saudi, it feels like a lifetime ago. Back then, I only had 1 daughter. Since then, through the podcast, I've had 2 more sons. So it really feels like a lifetime.
He's been very busy during that.
So this is your 3rd year?
Third or going into 4th.
4th year now. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you entertain success, the energy and interest?
So I think Khalil does a lot of the hard work and heavy lifting. Especially in the past 3 months, I've taken a sabbatical after the birth of my son. So since in the beginning of the year, we make a list of like possible guests, but it's just a suggestion. A lot of the time we're influenced by current events. So like when the war started, for example, or when we see someone like you posted HD result or pieces, or you got a grant, something on LinkedIn. We're very active on LinkedIn, I think more so than the other like social media. So we see something that we like, something we think that deserves to be highlighted. And honestly, to me, the podcast is an opportunity to talk to people who otherwise like hard to like meet or talk to. So
did the idea, the initial goal, so the idea you had, why you?
Yeah, it did. Initially, I think when I started, it was more like we had just left Lebanon. It was like a sort of a anxious time, like with what was going on in the country and stuff like that. I wanted just to shed light on what's happening in Lebanon at the time. But with time, I think it's taken a more positive turn in terms of like looking at what's happening in startups, AI, shedding light on all the success stories that are happening and not necessarily focusing on economic crisis,
events,
explosion, the events that happen. So I think that's how it changed and evolved over time.
Do you think,
I want to say the same question at the same time. Is it a root and the bond with Lebanon through this process?
I think initially, yes. And initially I started it because I wanted to keep, I left, and probably the same for you. Like I left, I was back and forth, like, should we leave? Should we not leave? And it's a funny story, actually. When I got back, I went to the US at the time initially, and I told, my wife told me, go look for houses, whatever. I was looking for houses. I told her, you know what? And then, but then, things evolved, whatever. But yeah, it's more of a link to the country and kept me, connected to what's going on here. And I think I'm probably the same for you, can see yourself too. I feel very satisfied doing it because I meet a lot of people. I think it sheds light on a lot of the things that are happening in the country and keeps rooted and connected and feel like maybe I'm making some difference.
So I think in the first year, a lot of the guests were from our direct network. So, but after 1 year, you realize you run out of friends you can talk to. So you have to get yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone and reach out to people you know otherwise. So you two guys, I think now we're friends. Khalil and I definitely we're friends now. So it's a good way to meet people honestly and network. And like Khalil was saying, to shed light on Lebanese talent in Lebanon and outside. I think there's a lot of people who are doing a lot of great things. Maybe you see them on LinkedIn, but not on other forms of media if you're not very active. So I think it's a way to shed light on those talents, and you build a network and community of like-minded people who are in the healthcare field who are making a difference. And it's I think that's the biggest impact, the network of people.
Yeah. So our guests through the episode met each other or each other.
You had
through
the network.
Recently, Khalil can talk about IU Locus and your other dentist friend.
Oh yeah, this is a different one, but I'll talk about it. But one of the big ones, remember Vlad Shaddad?
Yeah.
Because Vlad is he's an NGO. He works here, and we talked at the time about what they're doing here in Yemen and other countries. And then I think we had an event. We had one podcast with Luis Atallah, who's in Boston,
in the US,
and he was an AI at
Philips.
Philips.
Yeah.
He was at Philips. And then Vlad sent me a message. He's like, hey, we have an AI conference for our NGO. Can you connect me with Luis? And that's what I did. And then Luis came to Lebanon and he gave them a lecture at the podcast.
Yeah. And I met you guys through Nadim, also through the podcast. So a lot of different...
And we met Nadim.
Exactly. And he came and gave a lecture for one of your classes. So a lot of networking opportunities like that. They're very spontaneous, people want a connection.
You believe in worldwide?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about Lebanese talent and expats and like you said, being rooted to Lebanon. A lot of us want to give back to our community. A lot of us, for me, I'm very junior in my career. I don't, maybe financially I can't give back, but maybe with the knowledge that I'm acquiring, maybe with the people that I'm networking with. We talked a lot about how with clinical informatics, for example, how we can make something more formalized out of it with a lot of the startups. And a lot of people talk to us about how this network, we can take it to the next level, not necessarily by monetizing it, but maybe we can do a retreat or a symposium or maybe a conference to bring all those talents together. So there's different things we can make out of it.
What strength do you think podcast? What skills are invested, and how do you dispatch the work there or to edit? You do it both of you without.
Yeah, it's mostly Khalil.
I do a lot. So my strength, I guess, is I do a lot of the editing that happens after we do the podcast. I'm thinking of other ways to edit faster. I think there are some AI methods you can use to edit faster, but that's probably what I do the most. And then I think the strength for both of us, which was good too, because I'm in the US, you're in Saudi, we both were in Lebanon before. So I think it's just building the connections. And I think it helps too that you're in different countries. So you're in the Gulf area, so you have connections there, I have connections in the US. So it makes it easier or to find guests to do the podcast.
And my strength is being shameless about cold emailing people on LinkedIn. You lose what little self-shame you have and you just email them. You're like, hey, I'm on the Lebanese Physicians Podcast. We'd like to co-host you. Yeah.
And which episode do you wish more an episode that marked the guest or impacted?
I think so. We always talk about like how do you quantify like their number of views or number of subscriptions. So to me, my baseline, I compared if like I gave a grand round at my hospital, like I would get maybe like 20 to 30. So most of our episodes we get at least 100, 200, 300. Some episodes maybe up to 1,000. So to me, any effort I put into this podcast, I think, okay, if I gave this talk at the grand round and only 30 people listen, if I'm doing it online and 200, that's 10 times the impact. So that's how I measure it. Again, like it's a very niche product, it's Lebanese physicians. So I think we're excluding a lot of people. Over the past few years, we've tried to make it more inclusive. And I tell guests, we are the Lebanese physicians, and our guests can be non-Lebanese and they can be non-physicians.
More flexible in
exactly.
the guests.
Yeah. So when you go back and see all these, what would now, very quick, what episode you think the funniest you really want to see again?
4 years. Difficult.
For me, I would say the funny one is one of the first episodes I did was with my younger daughter.
I knew you were going to say that.
When we first moved to the US, and I was asking her about like Lebanon and whatever, and so it was sort of a funny episode. I still have her listen to it sometimes, or sometimes I make her have her friends listen to it, but like her voice has changed completely now. But it was a funny episode. She talked a lot about her experience in Lebanon, her experience in the US.
At what age?
So when we did it, she was like getting into 9 years old at the time. Yeah.
And I have an idea for next time, your daughter and my daughter interviewing them. That would be a good one.
With fathers,
Yeah.
And did you have any event that you remember in podcast or a funny thing you had with the guest?
The one, Vlad was a good one actually, and he actually co-hosted with us a few episodes. We should get back in touch with him if he's interested in hosting more episodes. Right. We did a few episodes. There was like 5 or 6 of us even in one of them.
Yeah, with the medical students. One of them was there were medical students who were doing some work at the time of the crisis in Qatar, trying to help out with teaching like kids about medicine. So they were making money that way. Trying to raise money.
And even with Vlad, the one episode we had like 3 people from NGOs.
Yeah. But I'll tell you one funny one I had, and it was funny in a way. So it was Ziad Al-Khatib. He's an epidemiologist in Austria.
Yeah.
And I was in DC, so I sent him a message on LinkedIn, and then he's like, do you live in DC? I told him yes. He's like, yeah, I'm there for a conference now, so why don't we do it in person? And so we wanted to do that with epidemiology, and then he's at the conference, he meets 2 other Lebanese people who were there at the conference, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to bring them with me, and let's do it about like quality and epidemiology and all the other stuff. So I actually reserved a conference room at GW, and we did it in person.
So you had
over there.
Many guests, one
right,
guest.
Right. So that one was 3 guests at the same time.
We can see the podcast took a turn towards glide-on. So are you satisfied of the turn? And how do you see the podcast? What are the you really still want?
So I think that change reflects our personal interest and maybe mine more so, because this is a passion project, right? So we can have whatever guests we want. And because I'm interested in AI and I'm interested in like healthcare transformation, so the news that pops into my feed is the stuff I'm interested in. So I think it represents my current interest and my current work. So those are the topics I'm interested in listening to. And again, this is, in my mind, the podcast is, if I was driving from work to home and had time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to listen to podcast, what guests would I want to have? And those are the guests I reach out to.
So do you have any guest, special guest, dream guest, would like to have?
So I tried, and we tried it together actually. I'm going to say it here, but we tried to get Minister Kamal Shahadi on the podcast to discuss AI, but it hasn't worked yet. We were on the verge of doing the podcast, but then he had something come up and didn't do it.
Well,
but,
I should send him my picture, because when we were at the ELMA conference, under my name, the title was Technology and AI Minister. So you can interview me. But also Firas Al-Abyad would be someone good to, like his experience was phenomenal, like during his tenure, like a lot of healthcare crisis, the Beirut blast. So he would be someone very interesting to talk to in terms of like recent events and to know what was going on in his head with a failed Lebanese state and a failed healthcare sector, but he had to face all of it. Exactly, like managing a crisis.
Right.
We met also at the conference a lot of the practice who are Lebanese. Surgeons.
It's a big network.
I think
and a few of them were already our guests, like Pascal Jabour, like Bassem, like Mahmoud Al-Alqab, of course.
What drives you to continue the podcast? The ideas you come up with, the drive, What really drives you?
I think it's more of a like my take on things. I mean, people evolve with life, and I think we all like evolve. And initially, it was like work was important. I mean, work is still important, but I think I feel like it brings me satisfaction. It's one of the things that are outside of work that I enjoy doing. And I enjoy connecting with other people and actually making people connect with each other. So I enjoy making these connections and also having shed light on people connecting with each other. So that's what drives me keep going.
Have you thought about clearer?
I think we've talked about it multiple times together, and we should start. And we're talking about how to, let's say, put it on other social media platforms such as TikTok or Instagram and make, for example, reels or something like that to make it more listened to and spread it more. So we're thinking about this.
Maybe doing some shorts.
Taking a slot from the episode, the question, guest,
to have a teaser, teaser about the discussions.
Right.
So we explored that and we talked to like a few people who do like social like podcasting, but it was a lot of money to be honest, and to invest in that. And again, this podcast we're not monetizing it, you know. So we're doing it's a side project, it's a passion project. So, but yeah, we have this discussion back and forth, but we haven't committed.
Yeah, but I think we could do the shorts. Just probably you can just cut part of the video and
we explored an AI tool actually, but we never took the next step. Yeah,
we will do it.
Maybe with this episode.
Yes.
Yeah. maybe it's easier when you have a live the guest catch it interaction.
Yeah.
With the guest.
Did you ever think about in Lebanon, like podcast, getting all these one time so open?
We talked about like a networking event. We didn't like decide like what the final shape would be. If it would be like a networking event or a conference, or would be part of maybe like the LOP annual conference. We would want like, or like the ILMA conference, for example. Again, we're doing this as a part-time job, but we've entertained the idea if it could be like the official like spokesperson of like the Lebanese physicians, like to broaden the network and give everyone a microphone.
Yeah, it could be actually, that's a good idea. It could be part of the ILMA conference because they already, like when we download the episode, they already download them on the ILMA website.
It could be like a special workshop.
Right.
Meeting in the ILMA conference.
Great idea, because that's the easiest way of doing it.
And you're part of where what's one thing the audience know about you? Something that you can share now. Something you're preparing or some challenges you may face in the podcast or with activity as a physician?
I would say, I mean, from a physician standpoint, I think people know what I do. I'm trying to like joke all the time, be funny, and then I think one of my hobbies that people don't know maybe a lot about is avid marathoner. So I do like a lot of marathons.
He's mentioned it like 2 or 3 times in different episodes. People know.
Okay.
So this is not a secret. Maybe Dr. Jardaly can read something
secrets.
for the
No,
audience.
but that's the thing. Like people think that we know each other so well, but literally this is the 3rd time I see him in person. Like,
and you don't talk. I mean, offline.
Between.
We're like on WhatsApp and LinkedIn all the time, but like in person, you know, in physical, like I've met you guys 2 times and I've met him 3 times.
As much as you know him.
Exactly.
We text a lot on WhatsApp, and sometimes like after the episode is recorded on Zoom, we stay on.
Yeah, we do like a debriefing.
Afterward. Yeah, we do a debriefing afterwards.
Is it easy to? I mean, you don't really get to know each other through the years through WhatsApp. I mean, okay, but is it easy to coordinate a guest or a podcast who don't when you are not in geographic area or you a lot? Is it challenging or you're
We have an online chemistry. That's not the hard part. The hard part is the logistics, figuring out a time that works for Khalil and me with my crazy schedule, his crazy schedule, and the time difference. I think the logistics is the harder part. But when we're online, I don't think we have an issue.
And do you maintain time for doing a new episode? I mean, every week, or do you maintain a time frame?
Yeah, we try. Recently, I've been trying to do it every week, but it depends on finding guests, and it depends how busy I am sometimes or how busy you are when episodes, but at least every 2. That's what we try to do. I'm trying to be consistent now with like every Sunday releasing them.
Do you remember any nice or...
I know personally no one, not even my mom listened to this podcast or my wife. They're not interested. But Khalil, I think you ran into a fan once.
Oh yes, it's a funny story actually. I was we're heading back to DC on Turkish Airlines and from Istanbul to DC, and then suddenly they call like for a physician on the plane because the hostess was having like a headache or migraine. So I run back, and then this other guy runs back, and turns out he's also a physician. And then he looks at me, he's like, are you the host of the Lebanese Physicians Podcast?
Wow.
I was like, wow.
I'm a celebrity.
15 seconds of fame.
Yeah.
What is the hardest question guests have ever asked you, or a challenging moment or a challenging subject you felt embarrassed or hard to dig in? Is there any guest or any challenging you had to manage to talk
I think
about?
the episode we did with Salah Zainuddin right at the start of the war, to me that was like very raw, very emotional. The war had just started, no one knew how long it would, and we were doing it literally like a few days after it started. That was very raw. To me personally, that was a very difficult podcast to get through. It was just sad. And both of us were far, me and Saudi, Khalil in the US. We felt like there's nothing we could do except shed light with someone on the ground.
Always there in the podcast, in every crisis, you manage really root our society
Accompany.
crisis and accompany all the crisis and all the healthcare, even when you are far and abroad.
Yeah, it's like the least you can do to give back or at least be there, and shed light, because a lot of people on the ground don't have that microphone, don't have that platform. So by giving them that space, actually they're on the ground, they deserve to have that
Dr.
platform.
Jardaly, I have a session or two intervention, and I felt that it's very interesting. You are doing what you are, or your interest in informatics and what you are trying to do. Did you have the idea to talk about it as a co-host? I mean, being a guest and talking about what your passion.
Yeah, so the first time I was the guest, we actually talked about my research when I was still a resident.
4 years
It was
ago.
4 years ago. Khalil tried to get me on as the guest once, but I declined because there's a lot of
It's time.
it's time.
Yes,
So
yeah, you're doing a lot of. I was really interested in your work at ILMA, and
we'll make it
Yeah, we
happen.
talked about it. I think what you wanted to get the release from your job too, to make sure what you can talk about, what you can't talk
A
about.
lot of
So that's why
sensitive information, and to have enough content for 30 or 40 minutes, I felt we can discuss it. Good idea.
yes, it was very interesting.
Thank you.
because I-
One funny final. What was the weirdest recorded?
Paul Jemaiser.
No, not this
No.
one. I have a weirder one. So once I scheduled an episode and I totally forgot that we had moved to DC, and like a year and a half into it, we bought a house with an apartment building, and so I decided to record the episode the day of the move. And my wife was like, "Are you crazy? Like, what are you doing here?" So I had to, and there were like movers inside the apartment building and stuff like that. So I think the guest didn't know at the time. And I'm not going to say who the guest was, he doesn't know. So I went up to a hallway, like on the rooftop, and sat there and recorded the episode in the hallway.
Ella, you reminded me actually, Kevin, something similar happened. We had moved apartments in the same building, and my children were at home crying, and we had an episode to record. So I had to do it from the hallway, and people were going back and forth, and sometimes I would have my video on, sometimes I would have it off. It reminded me of that one. I tried to block it from my memory.
That's a proof that this is really your passion, because whatever happens around you, you're committed to this podcast.
Antoine asked the last.
We can still.
We can have a final
You
question.
can,
Okay, if budget didn't matter, what would you dream about for this post? What would
I think I would be more like we talked about. I would do more the shorts. I would edit the video and make them better, because now I figured out a way to the audio part. Like we have a music at the beginning, music at the end, but I don't do that for the. I think just making the videos better and having better social media presence, shorts and maybe short audios, short videos, stuff like that. That's what I would be.
maybe you can have a third partner or like passionate about helping out tech.
Right.
That's a good idea. Fellas, this is an official call for Lebanese talent, or it doesn't have to be Lebanese. Any tech-savvy talent
that
with
can
social
help us,
media
yeah.
and help us with the production, definitely.
Yeah, we had a medical student at one point who approached us to help us out. We did one episode with him.
Get
but
the
then
Maybe, yes,
he disappeared.
maybe.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Get a fellow. No, I'm. Maybe it will help reach more people. I mean, this is it's a very interesting and very impactful podcast. And I think many people are interested now with the hype of AI and technology to really see a sound and good content. I mean, sometimes you can see whatever contact and whoever is talking about whatever in the hype of AI.
Messages the same.
And it's not really professional or with experts.
It's not human.
Yeah. Maybe this podcast should reach more people, should have more impact by being more diffused and more accessible on other platforms. Maybe this is my opinion as a guest and as a public the podcast, you are doing a great job that is more that deserves to be reached considered
bigger
or
reach,
a bigger reach. So maybe a third one that is more into marketing or passionate about giving this reach to the podcast, and with this interest now in AI in healthcare, and you are more talking about shedding light on, would give the round the push.
Yeah, I think, and I agree. I think it probably should be like a medical student or a resident, or maybe nursing student, pharmacy student, somebody who is younger than us and who
Is tech savvy.
is tech savvy. Exactly.
So, Dr. Khalil, MohammadAli, thank you for this very nice podcast today.
If you like us as a co-host, we can.
Yes, 100%. Actually, you guys did it.
If you can have an evaluation for us as co-host, and we can help out in some episodes when Dr. Jardaly is taking sabbatic for the third son, or
خلاص, my wife said خلاص.
we can help out. If you like us, please let all to the public give the word. So give it.
لا, thank you لكم. Honestly, this was your idea. يعني. Give credit where it's due.
Right,
It was
right.
your idea. لا, I'm glad we did this. It was fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, I think. I mean, it's a great idea, Flip the Table. I think we learned a lot from you too, and you guys are great hosts.
Yeah, we gave them good ideas.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed this idea, and we really appreciate, and we are proud of your drive, even with challenge and crisis, challenging career. I mean, being easily to live with and to do, and you are keeping this drive and this interest, and you are doing a personal effort to keep this. So I think that the message I want to say to this should take more reach, and more. It deserves more reach. It deserves heard. And I'm really amazed and I'm really impressed about the effort and the consistency and the drive behind this podcast. I'm really a fan, and I'm really impressed about your motivation, your drive to keep it moving through the. And I definitely put any effort make this reach. Maybe people don't have time to do full episode, but taking one segment from episodes and make it available on Instagram or on Facebook or on other social media would definitely give you more reach, and this post deserves.
لا, point taken. Very valid
Right,
point.
exactly.
Finally, I'm really proud of what you did. It's not only people who got paradigm.
خلاص, we'll have you for part 2 to talk about your work. يعني أنت كمان since our last episode you did a lot of great work that deserves to be highlighted. يعني يعطيكم العافية.
It's always a pleasure to have you. How you conclude the podcast?
Thank you very much.
It was the Lebanese Physician Podcast from Beirut, and thank you for having us today.
For having flipped the table.
Yes, for having flipped the
Yes,
table.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
And nice office, guys.